Well, Jem, for the last time in season 1, Jem, do your spiel.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Theatre Pitch podcast. This is the last episode in the season. How are we all doing? I am Jem, this is Sean.
This is Sean, hello.
And this is Joe.
I'm doing well, thanks, Jem. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to see what the end of my pitch is. Because I didn't get that far.
Wouldn't it be crazy if this week I'd actually fully written out mine and you hadn't planned it at all?
No, I've genuinely like my pitch this week, but I've got a fear it might descend into the water is evil, just because I don't quite have an end yet.
How many times do you say that? Oh, I genuinely like my idea. It's becoming your catchphrase, Gemma. Like our catchphrase is scaffolding. It's becoming your, genuinely like my idea. I'd like to watch it.
At least I'm backing myself.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you know what, Gemma? Yes. You need to visualize winning, and if you do that, you win. Okay.
I like the way that you're doing that whilst waving a pen at me whilst wearing a suit.
Joe's laughing his head off because I have said that to him about 100 times this week. Every time we play Fall Guys and he fails, I always say to him, "You failed there because you haven't visualised yourself winning."
Sean, this isn't Five Guys, Fall Guys and Fries.
I'm just saying.
This is theatre pitch.
We need to visualise ourselves giving a good theatre pitch, and then we will. And I'm holding a pen. I don't know why, because I never make notes, but it's because I've visualised doing a good job. So I'm holding a pen.
I feel like Sean's one step away from just doing like the politician thumb. Just like, I am looking for your support for my pitch. I think it's good. I think it's strong. It's robust,
world-beating.
And together we are going to bring back theatre with this play.
I feel like Sean is one step away from being one of those cultish leader motivational speaker people that charge 400 quid per day.
I could do it.
Join their conference for 4 days.
Next time I see you, Gemma, I'm gonna hold your head and give you a push and say amen, and then you won't need your glasses anymore. I'm gonna do that for you. And I've just realised there's something in my pocket. I don't know what it is. Doesn't matter.
I thought that was going to be a magic trick for a second for some reason. I thought that was like, oh, I've got something in my pocket. Oh, it's the script to my pitch this week.
I haven't worn this for a while. at all. Last time I wore a suit, right? I genuinely I was
graduation.
like, oh, what's it? Oh, it was at graduation. I was sat in graduation, right? And I'm there like, oh, what's this? What's this in me? And I pulled it out, and it's the speech I give at my sister's wedding, 2 years before, and I was like, oh, okay. I don't wear suits that often.
So that's how special this episode is. And it's not only special for that, because Jem's good at segues, it's special because this week we usually on the Theatre Pitch podcast will take a random online encyclopedia article and each of us will pitch something to do with it and then we'll smush it all together at the end. This week, we are cutting to the chase. We're cutting to the smush. Each of us have got 3 online encyclopedia articles that have been previously featured in this season of the Theatre Pitch podcast. And each of us have had to smush together the articles that we were individually given. So, shall we quickly run through the ones that we've got? Joe, which are you pitching for today?
Before I state mine, this is just a note for Sean.
Okay.
You know how every week when we post these up, we put it like Theatre Pitch, episode 14, No More Shall We Part by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
Yeah.
Can we please call this last episode, so we don't have to list 9 of them, the season finale, Cut into the Smush.
Cut into the Smush.
This episode's officially entitled Cut into the Smush.
Yes, I shall do that.
So, my 3 articles that I had for this week were gymnastics at the 1984 Summer Olympics, which, of course, as we know from last time, were held where? Yes, I heard you saying it at home, Los Angeles. We also had Mr. Bubble, a popular brand of bubble bath products made by the Village Company, also in America, but this time in North Dakota. And we have No More Shall We Part, an album by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, released in 2001.
Awesome. So that is what Joe's had to smush and cut to the smush with. Joe, not Joe, Sean, what do you have to cut to the smush with?
I have to cut some smush with Life Entity from DC Comics. Otto Eichmann, a French painter. Yep. And Wikipedia, a popular website that has lots of stuff on it. Articles, stuff that, that we know about. Yeah. Unlike Joe, I did not have them prepared on the screen, so I've done them from memory. So I feel like I was more impressive then. Even though I gave less information, it was more generic. It was not generic, organic. It was more real.
Wow.
Plus, I'm wearing a tie.
I like the fact that you guys got the two, in your three that were randomly given to you. Both of you got the things that, the two articles that led to the episodes that you guys ranted and totally owned. And I got list of terms related to an average person. Here is a list of terms related to an average person. And then a list of stuff. That's what the article is. Kyle Biederman, the wonderful Republican member of the Texas House of Representatives, who anybody who listened to that episode knew that he dressed up as a gay Nazi. Or a gay Hitler?
Gay Hitler. He went.
Hitler.
He weren't just a Nazi. He was the Nazi.
It wasn't like he was gay Rommel or something. Yeah. No, he was gay Hitler.
He was gay Hitler. And then the one that I did enjoy my pitch to, the very first episode, Bravest Fireboat, which is a fireboat operated in the fire department for New York City, which bears its nameplate carved into a piece of steel from the Twin Towers taken down in the 9/11 attacks.
So we all got ones
boats.
we didn't want, and we all got
Pardon?
ones that we all got ones that we didn't want, and we all got ones that we did want, Gemma. So it wasn't a rigged system.
I'm just saying Edward Cullen could have been thrown in that one.
Oh well, it weren't rigged, and
yeah,
that's just life,
The thing is, Gem, how are you going to top Robert Pattinson kills off all his other selves and provides a recipe for how to oven bake spaghetti sandwiches?
Well, Stephanie Meyer did just release Midnight Sun, and it did today turn up on my doorstep. So I feel like if I had Edward Cullen, I might have gone too far down the rabbit hole with my pitch. So we've saved ourselves.
I think you mean day of recording, Gemma. Not today. Not today.
It could have been any day, Sean.
Could have been any. Well,
we
not
we
today,
don't know. There might be a time traveler listening to this.
I'm sorry. I just like derailing stuff now. After last week, and I just went with space for the whole episode. I'm feeling mischievous.
Oh God! I really hope that him saying derailing isn't a hint that he's going to do another Starlight Express episode.
I was about to say it's just going to be trains. Trains in space.
Space.
I will point out, we said the same thing, Jem. Have you even seen Starlight Express?
Let me just write that down. Trains in space. That's a good one. That's a good one.
It's literally Starlight Express.
No, it's not. Starlight Express is
basically
in space.
trains in space.
No, it's not.
Its name is Starlight Express.
Well, Sean notes down. Joe, do you want to smush your pitch and cut your smushy at us? That sounds really dodge. Don't.
That's saved for next season.
So, I'm essentially going to be providing what is in some ways a greatest hits of Joe presentation with this one, because the very simple basis of this is we are taking this of our setting for this production is the 1984 Summer Olympics, by which I mean George Orwell's 1984 Summer Olympics. So this is what happens when a gymnastics competition is taking place within an oppressive dystopian dictatorship. I'm not going to go for the obvious low-hanging fruit of saying AKA modern-day America, because would I be that cheap? Yes, I just did. And Our main character is someone inside a costume for Mr. Bubble. Mr. Bubble has been appointed the government-mandated mascot for this production because he is emblematic of everything they want. Clean. Censored. Perfect. No mess, just bubbles. No insurrection. That's the motto now. And essentially, it's the play revolves around this person who's inside a mascot costume going out and trying to cheer on a crowd of morally destroyed people. And it's all about how do you create any kind of morale boost in a world in which all emotion is suppressed to the point of trying to keep people subjugated. And at the same time, I was thinking about, with No More Shall We Part, I'm sure both of you, having read the article for you last week, will be aware that the final track on the album, Darker with the Day, was a redoing. It was not lyrically, but in terms of chord sequence, pretty much, it is a redoing of a previous Nick Cave song from his, I think it's his second album, Henry's Dream, and the song is called Papa Won't Leave You, Henry. And
Okay.
So I thought it's an interesting through line through this to explore the notion of repeating patterns and how things change throughout time as they are repeated, but how everyone is doomed to repeat similar actions but to different effect. So essentially it is a one-act play. It is a one-act half-an-hour play that you see 3 times. 3 times throughout the play you will see the same opening ceremony happen and the same events leading up to it. But each time, I haven't decided what yet, but there will be a moral conundrum that Mr. Bubble is forced to face. And each time he takes a different path towards it. And it is looking at how one simple action can make all the difference. Perhaps it's an action as simple as there is a small child whom he sees outside really wanting to come into the stadium. So in one, he leaves the child outside. In one, he allows the child in. And in another, he points out the child to the guards or something. And seeing how one could ultimately lead to the crumbling of the entire regime. One could lead to just a nice day out at the Olympics for everybody. One could lead to no real meaningful effect whatsoever. But essentially, it's about how we can all make a difference with even the slightest action. And how even the simplest decision, it might seem like there's no point in... You know, it might seem like, oh, what's the point in voting? I'm just one person. It doesn't make a difference. But no, every single action has purpose. Every single action has ripples that lead to greater action. And that is my pitch.
Wow. Incredibly optimistic and a distinct lack of nihilism.
I mean, did I tell you what the endings were? No.
No.
Everyone might die in all 3.
I like it. So is it... I'm guessing is it a straight play, basically? Is it end on...
Yeah, straight play, end on, and of course, because, you know, I have to do my regional theatre showcase, and I've been saving the most important one right for this final one, which is, of course, the Sheffield Crucible. Big up. To which I know someone is going to message and say we just established end on, and I'm pretty sure as previously established, Crucible I think is a thrust stage.
I think it's a thrust stage, but
before we get angry complaints from people being like, actually it's a thrust. I know it's a thrust.
You can do a straight play in a thrust stage.
Yeah, I know. It's just because Jem established front on staging. Yeah.
Well, we can just create a new one. It's an end on thrust.
Okay, Jem.
Yeah.
Do I have to be the one to point it out?
I heard it come out of my mouth before my brain heard it.
So what we've established is Jem heard as an end on thrust came out of her mouth, and she just got on with the smush.
Gemma, you're meant to be the intelligent one out of the three of us. You're meant
Yes,
to be.
but we all-
You're meant to be the straight person, keeping the two comic relief in check. Yeah.
True, but sometimes we've got to throw a curveball in there.
Well, go and pick it up and then don't put it down and don't
Okay.
throw it again.
All right, okay.
Stick to underarm throws from now on, just to
Yeah.
keep it safe.
Underarm
Sure.
throws. Don't try and put no
Sure.
curl on this.
Don't try and get spin
Yeah.
on this ball. It's not a fancy. This isn't a fancy strikeout.
Yeah.
This is just a classic cricket bowling.
So, Sean, do you have any questions for Joe?
Do you bowl at cricket underarm, Joe?
They do in this world.
Okay. Do I have questions?
Yeah.
No. I like it. I'm surprised though that when we done the episode that none of us touched on the 1984. That none of us went for like
Yeah.
it's thinking of it
I'll be
now,
honest,
it's really obvious.
I
Yeah.
don't know whether you two both had the same thing. I'd thought about it, but then I also thought, now there's half a chance both of them will mention that as well. So I kind of avoided it, overthinking it to the point of being like, they'll definitely say that, so there's no point in me doing it.
To be honest, you know when you like have like a treasure hunt or you're watching Crystal Maze or something and like there's a clue and you get really hung up on the wrong word. I got really hung up on Summer Olympics and I just didn't. It could have been any year.
I can relate with that considering I have actually done the Crystal Maze experience.
Ooh.
And I got really you know in the one where you have to get the panels and like, put them on the thing and do the pub names.
Yeah.
That's the one. Like when you just described then flashbacks, like West Lion. I've got red, but where's the lion one? And I couldn't find it. But I didn't
Well,
get
okay.
locked in. I didn't get locked in. But you know who did? My sister. And I always make sure she doesn't forget it. So it's on the internet now.
Is this Gemma?
No, Zoe. Zoe got
No,
locked in.
sorry. Oh, I thought you were going to segue into a little
No.
shout out
No,
to your
no.
nephew.
No, he's had one. That'll do him. That'll do.
So, Sean, your pitch.
Hey, Gemma.
Just before we figure out who goes next, either you or me, on the scale of 1 to Spaceman, how much
How
should you
stupid
be
is
going last?
It's 0. It's a very sensible show.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's
I've
not.
gone for a really sensible show too.
Well, how about this, right? You go next because you present the show, and then you'll have to do the ending bit for a change. You know, put a shift
my
in.
Goodness.
So
Finally, my time to do the ending bit. Okay.
yeah, because you go on for ages anyway when you explain the show. So you might as well. I'll be the interval of like Gem talking. So you crack on.
Okay. I'm just gonna glaze past that one. All right. So
I just want to point out this isn't bullying, right? This is banter amongst friends. I just want.
When you get past knowing each other for like over 6-7 years, there's no such thing as bullying anymore.
You should hear
It's
what
just
she
telling
says
the
when we're not
truth.
recording. It cuts me deep.
Okay, so I really struggled. I really struggled because lists of terms related to an average person, a potentially racist Republican member who gay Hitler, basically, and then Bravest the Fireboat. And I really struggled, and then I thought, because I was just like, oh, maybe I do a comedic farce, maybe I do like a Fawlty Towers style comedy. And I was just like, that's boring to me. And then I thought, okay, when you're making and devising any kind of theatre, a really good place to start is like, what's the bee in your bonnet right now? What's the thing that you could sit and rant for hours on? And don't worry, everybody's listening. I'm not going to rant for hours on this. I'll just rant very briefly and very concisely. So the second I kind of got let my bee out of the bonnet using theatre, I kind of created this show. So it's a one-person show. It's a one-man show. As much as I like women in theatre, unfortunately, It's a one-man show based loosely inspired by Kyle Biederman, or mainly the person that Kyle Biederman represents the stereotype of. So you have a man sat in the middle of a stage. On his left is a bank of screens, like TVs and things like that. On his left, another bank of screens and TVs. He's someone of Kyle Biederman's age, so a middle-aged guy, right? And we open to a series of news clips and vlog clips and opinion pieces coming up on these TVs. And they are everything that happens and gets spoken about and happens on the news when anybody announces that they're running for House of Representatives, when they're successful. It's all of those things. And we build this man up. He's not necessarily Kyle Biederman, but he is a politician and a relevant one currently, right? And you see all of this white noise of news, okay? But mainly you get the point that he is a politician. He's there in his suit, he's a politician. You sit there and you slowly and then it makes you want to hate him because he's one of those politicians. He's the one who votes against women's rights. He's the one who's not voting for equality, kind of thing like that, right? And then we cut. And it's a video of a young boy who we can clearly realize is him. And it's just a little homemade video of a young boy expressing how he would like to be the president of the country and how that means that he can make sure that his mum's happy and that his dad doesn't have to work all the time and all of those things that we know. Anybody who's gotten into politics, 9 times out of 10 they've gotten into politics because they wanted to change the world for a better place. And everyone, no matter how weirdly or wrong in your opinion they may vote, they're voting for what they believe is best, right? And basically it's the typical show that tells the story of this politician sort of slightly just on the opposite side of his prime, where you learn how he came to power. So you have that moment, just like in John Wick, where he's an evil guy who got his puppy in trouble. Spoiler alert for John Wick. But you sit there and you emotionally make the audience invested in him, so they care about him. And then you reveal that he's the kind of politician who dressed up as gay Hitler. Or he's the politician who fucked a pig. Or he's the politician who did any of the things that any of the politicians around the world are scandalous for doing. They're the Eton boy. He's the Eton boy. He's the pinnacle of what you want. So we're creating a conflict within the audience. But it's mainly, we then grow to hate this guy because he votes against all of these things. It's a series of political monologues from the primary actor interspersed with these snippets and news articles that are the different opinion pieces on what he's just said. But essentially it's his speeches on the floor, on the floor of the House of Commons, on the floor of the Senate. He's there, or House of Representatives. I don't understand, but it's these things that he's giving in the House, the speeches, right? And then how they're all misconstrued. But then we find out that he's dressed up as gay Hitler, and at the end of the play, the whole point is that we come full circle to where we started the play, which is him sat on a stool. And it closes with the only monologue, the only piece that isn't a written speech for the House of Parliament. And it's him going right back to what he said as a kid and really talking about, yeah, okay, I was wrong. And it's him taking responsibility for his actions. And it's him taking responsibility and saying, it was wrong to do that. And I never intended to do that, but it was wrong. It's not an apology that he's given and that he's giving for all of it, but and it's not being apologetic in any way that it's written, but it's him taking responsibility. Because the bee in my bonnet right now is very much about how people aren't taking responsibility en masse for the consequences of their own actions. You know, people sit there and like they'll get a parking ticket where clearly they were in the wrong, but they'll sit and they'll Karen about it. They'll throw their arms up, they'll fight it, they'll cause a load of ruckus. But actually, you know what? You were in the wrong. That doesn't make you a bad person, but you were in the wrong. Just deal with the consequences, take responsibility. And that goes far wider to the mask debate and the everything that's going on in the world that we try and forget when we listen to a podcast. But nobody's taking responsibility for their own Gorham self, especially in some people's argument, politicians. And so the whole play is this emotional journey that we put the audience on, so that we make them love him, then we make them hate him, and then we humanize him, and we have this person. And the whole point of the play, I'm not 100% sure on how we do it, is that he takes responsibility for his actions. Now, how the hell does that link to any of these? So Carl Bierman is the character.
You read my mind. I was like,
you totally got what my first question was going to be as well, clearly.
So, I kind of...
let me guess. He gets killed by a boat at the end.
And it's in space.
It's in space. So I did the art wankery thing of being like, I was inspired by the fundamental concepts of these Wikipedia articles. So Carl Biederman, it's not necessarily him, but he is the inspiration for the archetype of the primary character in the story that we're going for, right? The list of an average person is why I'm sitting there going, I want this to relate to everybody, and to sort of sit there and have that point of being like, everybody, the average Joe needs to take responsibility for themselves, right? Hi Joe, the average...
You ain't average. You can put your hand down.
But it's very much about, this is something that you're sitting there going, this is an everyday person, and that the lesson applies to an everyday person and things like that, right?
Yeah.
The bravest.
Where's the boat coming?
Where's the boat coming in?
Oh.
The bravest is very much this idea, and the show is called Bravest because to take responsibility for your own actions is an act of courage. It is being brave. And the whole point of the show is be brave enough to take responsibility. Okay?
Oh.
And it's very...
We'll allow it, but it's... Let me check the rule book.
Can I make a pitch to you, Jem, for your pitch?
Can I finish my pitch first?
Okay.
It's very much that idea of a fireboat is there to rescue people and it's to put out fires. And the whole time, this guy, like, when he's sitting there and the gay Hitler comes out and the news goes completely wild, he stands up and tries to put that fire out by doing a whole speech that just makes the fire worse. And the whole thing is that he's trying to put out fires, but the only way you can really put out a fire truly and create calmness is by taking responsibility for your own actions. So I took all three articles. I kind of very loosely went, ooh, and then I thought of just be brave enough to take responsibility. And I went, there's my bee in the bonnet, taking these three articles, swooshing them together, and not coming out with a pitch that is saying that the water is evil.
My amendment to your pitch was going to be, what about if we linked it by having it site specific and it's performed on a barge?
It could be, but it doesn't make sense. I think it's very Fleabag, but with TVs and politics.
No, I think Gemma's done a good job there.
Yeah,
it was a bit ropey with the bravest, but she blagged it. I'll allow it. She's putting out.
I mean,
fires.
You know what? Considering how very hackneyed in my inclusion of Nick Cave was, I'll allow it.
Yeah, yours was. Yeah, yours was we just sing Nick Cage.
I didn't say that. It had thematic resonance. It's just it definitely wasn't pulled out of my ass at the last minute.
Half of pitching is just about blagging, but no,
it definitely was, Joe. You asked me yesterday what was my third article. It was definitely pulled out your ass tonight.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that it's. Let's face it, if it wouldn't be me if I'd actually planned this.
Yeah.
True.
So it's my turn.
Yeah. Are there any questions?
I don't think so, Gemma. You explained it really well. I don't think I'd want to watch that show because I know your argument that people need to take responsibility, but I think with the politicians, I think you could look at it your show one way, like you're excusing. Like them not taking responsibility.
I very much didn't want it to come across as excusing.
It doesn't.
Being apologetic or anything like that.
Yeah.
Which is why I was kind of like, is it a politician or is it like a businessman who's done some shady crap?
I was going to ask, and this is an unnecessarily deep question for this podcast, but in your personal opinion, Jem, do you think acknowledgement of fault actually makes a difference?
I think that acknowledgement of fault is the first step in rectifying fault and changing patterns of behaviour.
But if someone acknowledges it, apologises, then slips immediately back into their old ways, has it made a difference?
No, but this is where I think that's not taking responsibility. That's recognising and going, oh, well, I made a mistake, and then moving on. But taking responsibility for yourself and how you operate within this world is a gear shift. That's sitting there and going, you know what, it's not that I'm going to have a vegan meal now, it's that I'm going to be a responsibilitarian all the time. You know?
That's a very deep question, Joe. And I quite like how dark your screen's got as you were like asking like the really important question, just coming from the shadows. Like,
in terms of editing, would it make a difference if I were to go and turn my light on now?
No.
How about me and Jem cause a distraction to catch the audience's eyes? Whoa.
We'll do a dance.
And now Jem and Sean are going to perform We're Breaking Free from High School Musical.
Which is on a podcast.
No, you shouldn't.
I'm not doing that. I'm definitely not doing it. How about Sean just starts his pitch?
I feel was that done on purpose, Joe? Did you pick that musical on purpose? It
was the first duet I could think of.
Not Grease. Come on.
I have dark memories of that musical. We did it at school, and I don't think I've ever told you guys the story. But
wait, did you do Grease or High School Musical?
High School Musical, but I didn't know
they did a stage version of it.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a dark memory for me. Okay,
Is it the one where you tap danced?
No, Gemma.
You know what your problem was, Sean?
I didn't
get your head in the game.
I didn't get my head in the game, and I didn't visualise myself doing a good job. That was what it was. Right, my pitch. It's set
pitch.
it's not set in space. Right, it's actually quite. So I was very adamant that whatever I did had to be based around the 3 articles. I weren't going to be all like loosey-goosey. It was going to be, So I broke down each 3 of the articles to like their core aspect. Yeah. So Arto Eichmann, really easy. He's an artist. Okay. So I've got artist. Wikipedia, really easy. It's knowledge. It's the articles. Yeah, so my idea was I'm going to use Wikipedia the way we sort of use it. It's like random articles, there's your word. Now, the life entity was a bit harder to break down to its core, but I think I've gone with... So in the comics, as you know, life entity is the power behind the White Lantern and basically where all the other lanterns come from. So and all the other lanterns represent colour and like an emotion. So that's what my thing is. It's artist, colour and emotion, and Wikipedia. Yep. So it's a performance. It's a performance piece. Yep. It's too hot. It's off.
I was about to say, too hot or getting serious?
It's getting serious. So it's a performance piece. It's going to be about an hour long, and there's no plot. I get. So how many lanterns do I have? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 9 artists on stage. Oh, my internet's gone.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Like
that's gonna be fun to edit, isn't it?
I'm sitting there and I look at Joe and I'm like, is Sean frozen for both of us or just for me? And I'm looking at Joe and Joe's like nodding as if Sean's continuing, and I'm like, oh no, it's me. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna sit here. And
I was just thinking to myself, for Sean, make sure he's got a clean edit. So keep it going.
Should not have took my jacket off at that point. Right, where was I?
You were like, oh no, I've taken off my jacket. Then you were like, right, and then you told us about colour and emotion, and you said it's a performance piece. It's 1 hour long. Then you said right, and you froze.
Yep. Right. It's 1 hour long. It's a performance piece, and it's got 9 artists on stage. Each one of them are going to be given an easel and a bit, and like a thing the artist like paint on canvas. That's the word.
Canvas. Yeah.
And then they're going to be given at random, like our podcast, a Wikipedia article. So if we go, for instance, the gymnastics at the Summer Olympics, they get given that, right? And then they have an hour to draw an image of gymnastics at the Summer Olympics. But we're going to get 9 different images. And the reason why I'm going to get that is because each artist is only allowed to use one colour. And that is white, red, orange, yellow, blue, green, indigo, violet and black. Yeah,
obviously to note that black is not a colour. Black is the lack of colour. Thank you.
It's a lantern. And whichever colour you get, you're also given a theme. So if you're drawing with the colour white, so obviously you're going to get a black canvas to draw on. You have the theme of life. So you have to draw the image of summer gymnastics with the theme of life and the colour white. Obviously, if you get red, you have the emotion of rage. Orange is greed. Yellow's fear. Green is willpower. Blue is hope. Indigo, compassion. Violet is love. And black is death. So the person at the end is going to be very morbid. He's like, yep, they all die. Yep. So that's the performance piece. They've got an hour. They've each got their own theme. They've each got their own colour, which I think is it's going to look cool. And then it's going to look like a really cool rainbow. So the stage itself is going to look really cool, and each image is going to look really cool on their own. And that is my 1 hour show. And I'm thinking, obviously it wouldn't be fringe show, right? Well, it could be, but I'm thinking, when you go to like a gaming exhibition, and when you go there, you see sometimes theatre shows. So if you went to the one in Birmingham, I know like the Fringe show, the Dark Room, or Nightmare Live, go have a performance there because it's a gaming exhibition and it's a gaming show. So I imagine this show to be at like an artist exhibition. I'm sure there's one. I'm sure there's loads, or a convention. I'm sure there's loads. Like, they do everything at the NEC. So that's what I'm thinking, like the NEC. That's where it is, okay. at a convention. Boom. That's my show. It's good, ain't it? I quite liked it. And it's set in space. No, it's not set in space. But yeah, so that
Sean,
was
remind me, you had Life Entity, you had Otto Eckman. What was your third one?
Wikipedia.
Oh, you had Wikipedia
itself. Yeah. So that's why I'm using Wikipedia as the MacGuffin of like, draw this. And that's how I've gone to it. There's no like, I haven't gone like where you guys have gone for, like, there's a plot, there's this, there's that. It's more like, I've been given these 3 things. I'm gonna rip them apart until I find out what their key thing is, and then I'm gonna like I'm gonna smush them together. And what can I do with them? What can I do with them pieces?
I like it, and
I do
really
like it, but I feel like it is important to note that art never exists purely for the sake of being a pretty picture. Art exists for a purpose, for a reason, and I'm interested to know thematically what is your show meant to represent?
It's representing how right, I know what it's representing. It's representing different points of view from one piece of material. So even though everyone has the same article, the same image, right? They are all creating that what's the word I want to use? Stimulus. They have the same stimulus, but they're all attacking that stimulus with different emotion, and it's showing how the same thing can be completely different with an emotional point of view.
Okay, drilling down into that way that we all can experience things differently, like something that you might remember as one of your happiest childhood memories, someone else who was there might remember as being the day that they got some bad news.
There you go. You read my mind, Joe. That's exactly what I was thinking.
This is called theatre blag. This is called pitch blagging.
Yeah.
Well done, Sean.
Thank you.
So it's one Wikipedia article for 9 artists who each have different colour and a different emotion.
The colour represents the emotion, and I get that obviously from the DC Life Entity comic.
I love it.
Yeah, see what I've done there? I've done a proper smoosh. Done a
You've done a real smush.
Yeah.
And I love it.
And Sean, I do have 2 potential pictures for you. For names.
Okay.
Either 9 artists in search of an emotion, or the definitive article.
I quite like the definitive article.
I like this both as it's something that I would go and watch, and then watch again and again and again if it was something that like took part every
because it'll be a different show every time, guys, and then you can sell the paintings at the end. So I've not just got a good idea, I've got a money maker.
And I think having it kind of as an installation that takes place around other art events works as well. Because it means that if you're someone who's like, well, what, am I going to pay to just go and watch some people paint? Now you can move around, you can look at other things, you can come back and check in on their progress.
See?
I really, really like it.
Yeah.
Both as like an audience perspective as well as the art wanker. I want to do it and I want to see it. I really like it.
Sorry, do we want to do... Is this one of the moments, Jem,
Sean,
where you want to tell Sean to cut this bit out and come up with a new pitch?
pitch something else quickly so that you can cut this out.
Hey guys, it's me, Sean Dan Brady. It's in space and there's a train and it's filled with...
I've got this. So basically, I want to do... the Green Lantern goes back in time to find Otto Ekman because he's the only person that can defeat the Yellow Lanterns and save the Life Entity. And the Life Entity is the person that creates Wikipedia, and we must make sure that the Life Entity creates Wikipedia. But we go back in time to stop it.
Because who's the only man that can defeat all of the lanterns? Someone who can use all the colours.
He can use all the colours. That's the... There we go.
Oh my goodness. Was that an alternate pitch?
No. That's clearly just because I watched the Bill and Ted trailer earlier today.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited for it. Okay, so now are we going to try?
No, we're not going to try and smush them all together. No, we're not.
No way
we're
gonna try and take 3 smushes, then get a. Would that be a non-2+ smush? Would that be the
we've got to try.
We're going to formally thank everyone for getting to this episode and tell them where they can all follow us on Instagram and then awkwardly say goodbye. That is what is next.
But I want to try smush him.
unless you two want to play a dangerous game where I get one more random article and we have 1
Like
minute.
a speed round.
Yeah, we do a speed round.
Ooh, that's a challenge. That's interesting.
If it's a really bad article, I think my internet might go again.
All right. Are we
Go on,
ready to
then.
play speed round?
Right, go on
Yeah,
then.
it best be Mighty Ducks or Jurgen Klopp.
Oh, good. It's an article I could read out the entirety of.
Oh, great.
Hang
Go
on,
on.
guys. Hang on. I need to get prepared for this.
Right, I'm stretching. I'm
Right.
stretching.
I need to be mighty.
Okay.
There we go. Here we go. Bring on the ducks.
How many layers of clothing are you wearing?
I only put that on for the podcast. It was too warm. I don't wear shirts. Who am I, a grown up? Come on, let's do this.
Right,
All right.
Joe.
And
Got
it
me
is the
pen.
Mighty Ducks. No, I lied. Imagine if it was... No. Our article is... Corostomatoidea.
Huh?
Corostomatoidea is a superfamily of nematodes. Its type family is Corostomatoideae, which was circumscribed in 1961 by G.R. Kloss. This superfamily was initially circumscribed in 1977 by George Poynter Jr. and then re-established in 2016 by Gary Phillips and colleagues. The superfamily consists of the families Corostomatoideae and Traxoideae. It is the kingdom, Animalia, phylum, Nematoda, class, Chromadorea, order, Rubatidia, infraorder, Oxyomorpha, superfamily, Corostomatoidea. Do I know what I just said? It's worms.
It's worms.
I thought you
They're
said
a
it was
type of worm.
toads.
I thought you said super family.
Yeah, I looked up the phylum of Nematoda. It's a type of roundworm.
Okay, I'm going to ignore that last bit because it sounds like you went to a different Wikipedia article. So I'm going to pitch, because I've been watching a lot of documentaries on Henry VIII and Tudors, and also the various different beliefs that they held in the Tudor era. And so don't know what caused the Tudor rant for my brain, but I did. So, my idea is an immersive dinner held at a historic site like Nottingham Castle or something like that. It's a nice fun dinner for everybody to join in on. But what it is you find out through this, you've got the dynasty, which is historical, it's Henry VIII, but we find out that Henry VIII, what he was actually doing through all of his 8 wives, is he was actually trying to create a super family. And what that was is all of his wives have their various different families that they brought in. But Sean, give me a second.
I have a question. I thought he had 7 wives.
He had 8 wives.
Well, you learned.
Catherine of Aragon, Anne Boleyn, Jane.
Wait, didn't he have 6?
Seymour.
Yeah, it's 6 because the musical's called
Divorced,
6.
beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded,
Yeah,
survived. It
the
was
musical's called
6, not
6. Yeah, Gemma, I was wrong, but I weren't as wrong as you.
No, it's because I'm sitting there thinking Henry Fitzroy was a 7th woman, was a mistress, wasn't one of his wives.
So I was right then. He was doing it with 7.
Oh, he did it with far more. It was very common at the time for those in the court to have many
Where are the
mistresses.
worms in this pitch?
Also, arguably, in that the formation of the divorce is technically an annulment to the marriage, you could say he only had 4.
Okay, so my pitch is my speed pitch is an immersive show taking place in a historic site where it's a dinner for the audience, but they get to be part of the royal court, where you find out that the royal court of Henry VIII, it's the moment that history lost. It's the moment that we lost because it was so outrageous and so held down by the various different families and communities attached to it, that's why we don't have it in the history books, is that he had 6 wives, yes, and he had at least one son, illegitimate, Henry Fitzroy, by a seventh woman and many other mistresses. But what he was actually doing in his search for an heir, he wasn't looking for a son, he was looking for a human son, because he was creating, not only was he creating a super family, but it was a super family full of supernatural creatures. So Henry Fitzroy is a vampire. Yes, I'm stealing that from a different person, because if anybody's watched that TV series or read that kind of books, love them. But it's based at Halloween, and he's creating a super family, and he's trying to bring together all of the supernatural dynasties together, and it kind of crescendos out in this, I don't know where I'm going with this, Henry VIII, dinner, medieval, super families, but it's a thing that we lost, and everybody has to swear to secrecy that they can't tell anybody that they were at this.
It's a piece
dinner.
of revisionist history dinner theatre.
Yes.
Okay. Sean, what's your pitch?
Can I just check something? The article's
Speed
about
round.
worms, right? Yeah?
Yes, the article's about worms. I think Jem took the word super family and nothing else.
The super family and loads of different names and things that could have just been things.
Okay. Mine is a family musical based around a super family of superhero ninjas that are all worms, and they go and save the day, and their base and their headquarters is on the moon because it's set in space.
I hate worms.
So,
And it's a musical.
So mine is very much, it's about the notion of creation in all senses. We take the basis of, it is a 3-person kind of split, or like, I'm not sure it's kind of a 3-person monologue is the best way of describing it. But we take in 1961 we have G.R. Kloss, in 1977 we have George Poinar Jr., and in 2016 we have Gary Phillips. All 3 of them seeking to circumscribe this family of worms. Circumscription within this instance, if you don't know, is the defining of a group of organisms. So essentially what we see here is that by defining that this is an individual group, they are defining that these things exist and are separate. They are essentially creating life. So we take this and we bring it through the very notion of creating theatre. We bring it into the story of Prometheus himself taking the god's fire. How that story then with Frankenstein being the modern Prometheus. How all these notions of scientists and men who seek to change the world and seek to create life have been seen to be essentially stealing something, and how we take this and apply it to the notion of circumscribing a type, of defining something else's existence.
Does anybody else reckon that Joe didn't just randomly think, let's pull up a random Wikipedia article? He's been sitting on this one for weeks.
I just want to say something. Do neither of you understand the concept of speed round?
You
that
kept
was me doing a
interrupting
speed round.
Mine was simple.
No, yours was already long, Gemma. We were waiting for the worm. Okay, let's end this.
My other pitch is, it's a redoing of the Major General's song from Gilbert and Sullivan, but just going, I am the very model of a Coromostomatidia. The super family and nematosid family is Corostomatidia. Circumscribed in 1961 by G.R. Kloss and Friends. Super family was initially described by George Poinar Jr.
There's only room for one educational rap in this generation, and that is Hamilton. Right. Okay.
Oh my god, that was
everybody
such a
who's
bad
listened-
idea, weren't it? It was such a... Can we end it, Gemma?
say we cut
Can we
that
end
out?
it? I'm so glad this is the last episode.
In the utter chaos that is truly fashionable for the Theatre Pitch podcast, thank you everybody who's been listening so far, everybody who's listened to any other episodes, and if you haven't, go back and listen to them and watch them, they're fun.
Apart from episode 4.
Don't watch the one with the water, or listen to the one with the water. That shall be scrubbed from the records.
And if you get to the episode on Noack Hill, skip my bit. Just save yourself some time.
But thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. You can find us on all social media platforms if you search OFITD. Sometimes it's got arts, sometimes it's got productions on it, but search for OFITD. Google will give you everything about us, including our dress size. You can find Joe on social media at...
Not Joe Ronchka, that's NOTJOERACZKA. And also, if you're here on YouTube, give a quick look at Boat Club Improv. And if you're listening on your podcast listening app, check out Cannon Fodder with Joe and Joe.
There you go. And Sean, we can find you at...
You can find me at StillSeanyB on Instagram and Twitter. And you can also find me on Cannon Fodder with Joe and Joe, featuring Sean.
And you can find me at OFITD_Gem. And yes, I'm not part of this podcast that the boys are doing.
You've got your own podcast. Plug it. Be proud.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Gemma, visualise yourself doing well on a podcast
you winning.
And tell everyone about it.
I visualise myself doing well at the Theatre Pitch podcast, but I also visualise myself doing really well at the bunch of rankers where we rank stuff that matters, and it also features the wonderful Sab, who guested on one of our episodes, go find it, and the ever-inspiring Rachel, which is super fun. That's releasing.
Do you say like really nice things about us on that podcast?
No.
I think she just says, you know, I've got another podcast, go listen to it, it's me and two pricks.
No, I love you guys. Thank you for a fun season of the Theatre Bitch podcast, but thank you everybody for listening. If you've got any ideas of how you can outpitch us, throw them in the comment section. We'll take you up for the challenge, and maybe we'll see you with a fun manifestation of one of these things. But until next season, thank you for listening. Have a good time, and maybe next season we'll have a proper closing for what this podcast should be.